that right after that, Obama gave his first and in fact only major speech on Israel-Palestine. It was an interesting one. He made one good move. He appointed George Mitchell as his negotiator. He's a sensible. However, he immediately undercut it by making it clear that Mitchell would have no authority. The way he did that was clever enough so that the press commentators could pretend they didn't understand it. What he said was, take a look at it, January 28th, something like that, 2009, roughly. He said there's now a great chance for peace. We've got to move forward for peace, peace process. He says there's a constructive plan on the table, the Arab peace plan. He said finally the Arabs have come along with the plan. Actually, they came along with it in 1976. Let's forget about that. But now the Arabs have come along with a plan, and their plan calls for normalization of relations with Israel. And he called on the Arab states to move forward with their plan and normalize relations with Israel. Obama is an intelligent, literate person. He can read, Harvard degree, and so on. He knows perfectly well that that's not what the plan said. The plan reiterated the international consensus on a two-state settlement and went even beyond it. It said, once that's established, we should move on to normalize relations with Israel. Well, Obama carefully omitted the guts of the plan and said normalize relations with Israel. Now, that's his way of telling the world we're not going to do anything. We're going to block peace, which is exactly what it meant and exactly what happened. Settlement expansion continued. Obama claimed to be opposed to it, but he made it very clear to Israel that the opposition didn't mean anything. He was asked, as spokespeople were asked at press conferences, are you going to do anything if Israel violates your demand to end settlement expansion? He said, no, this is just symbolic. In other words, Mr. Netanyahu, go ahead, do whatever you like. He was asked specifically, are you going to do what the first George Bush did? The first George Bush did impose very mild sanctions if Israel violated its demand that they not expand sanctions. But Obama said explicitly, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do what Bush did. It's just symbolic. So it's a clear statement, go ahead and expand the settlements, which is exactly how it was understood. Meanwhile, George Mitchell was kind of displaced by Dennis Ross. So Ross comes straight out of AIPAC.
And could end up being a positive force in terms of undermining the status quo. Does he have a point?
Terrible point. It was the same point that people like him said about Hitler in the early 30s.
Because it backfires in the end.
He'll shake up the system in a bad way. What it means is now the left, instead of, if Clinton had won, she had some progressive programs. The left could have been organized to keeping her feet to the fire and pushing them through. What it will be doing now is trying to protect rights that have been gains that have been achieved from being destroyed. That's completely regressive.
Noam Chomsky on Barack Obama. The left critique of his foreign policy record has been pretty clear. Escalating in Afghanistan, regime change in Libya, drone strikes in Pakistan, increasing aid to Israel. But there's also been a positive side to his record, surely, as well. The Iran deal, the reopening of with Cuba, the Paris Agreement on climate change, all of which are now at risk from a Trump presidency. Given the arrival of Trump, won't we end up missing Obama? Won't you miss him a little bit?
Well, the things that you mentioned, it's worth talking about. Obama did move towards normalization of relations with Cuba. The reason is not the one that was given. The reason was the United States was becoming so isolated on the hemisphere that it was on the verge of being literally kicked out of hemispheric meetings. So it was good to make those small steps, much too small. On the climate change issue, the Paris negotiations were a step forward, nowhere near enough, and that's in great danger now. The Iran deal, there's a lot to talk about, but it's better to have the deal than not. And if Trump withdraws from it, could be many things could happen.
So regardless of his intentions, he did make small positive steps, as you say.
There were.
So surely, when you look at Donald Trump in the White House, are you going to look back with some fondness at Barack Obama, with some hindsight?
Not fondness, but opposition to what Trump will be doing. There are also some very ugly aspects of Obama's policy.
I pointed some of those out, of course.
Well, like the global assassination campaign. That's a form of international terrorism we haven't seen before.
Undoubtedly so. And on Israel, of course, the Obama administration has been accused of being anti-Israel. He's had a personal falling out with Benjamin Netanyahu. But when you look at military aid, it's gone up. When you look at settlements, they've gone up. What is Obama's record on Israel going to be?
Obama's record on Israel was pretty awful, and Trump's is worse, considerably worse. So far, at least, what he and his spokesman have said is that basically